We are sons, and we are to call him Abba, which means I'm a little boy. There's something in us that knows what it is like to desire to be so small and so protected by a great father. Most of us didn't have one, but the few who did really understand what it is to crawl up in his lap and to know that he beams over us.
There is in all of us this innate capacity to believe and receive a really wonderful Father, even if we didn't have one.
Fathers have a way of telling their sons and their daughters the truth of who they are. And when we lose that, when nobody tells us, we are open to every lie that anyone will tell us. I got caught. I get a call. And Kim says, "I'm waiting for you at your office." And I know. That's the whole phone call. And what she knew, and I knew that she knew when she said it, was that I was in a 3-month affair with one of her best friends at the time.
I had told myself it's just porn, nobody's getting hurt, and I knew immediately, this was the crossroads. Melody and I were living in an apartment. It was a Saturday morning. She had gone to the grocery store, and I had been in an adult chat room and had made a connection with someone. She just popped up, and what was on the screen was, "I can be in Birmingham tonight if you want me to be." I said yes, and that night I had my first one-night stand, and I crossed a line that I swore that I would never cross.
If we understand that sex is not about sex, it isn't just about the struggle with lust. Lust is desire gone mad. So every man, every woman struggles with lust for something that fills something of our emptiness. Imagine when you feel empty or angry or ashamed, when you feel things in your body that are not working well, and one act will immediately create about 200 to 300% of what you normally live with in a matter of moments. Let's say it's more than just addictive. Let's say it is compulsive.
One of my favorite writers of the 20th century was Malcolm Muggeridge. And one morning, he's a young man in his 20s, and he gets up in the morning and he decides to go for a swim in the river. As he's out there swimming, he sees on a little island a woman. She has disrobed, and she becomes the focal point for his entire universe in that moment. And he walks up to her with the intent of seduction.
No matter what you did to clean yourself up, to look good, to play the right parts, to say the right things, shame was always there to tell you that you're not. You're a joke. You're a fool. Look at you. You did this again. How could you? You're bad. And when you're bad, God doesn't love you. He doesn't want to have anything to do with you. You have to earn that love.
I was always afraid that my addiction to pornography had disqualified me from any kind of relationship with God. And I can't tell you how many times I told him, I'm done. I felt enough guilt and enough shame, and I'm going to be clean from here on out. And so I worked hard to get back into the Father's love, into any kind of place with him where I felt relationally good. And in the end, I gave up. I said, I'm done trying.
I met a gal. She's a preacher's kid who had been told growing up in the church that when bad things happen, it's because you're bad and God has to punish you and set the scales of justice right and all that. And she was even told by her parents inside that tradition that she was God's punishment to them. She was. She said, Paul, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't really know what the difference between God and Satan was, except with Satan, I always knew where I stood. The character of Satan had more certainty than the character of God. And a lot of us are like that. And this is the accusation that's in the Garden of Eden, in the mouth of the serpent, the very first conversation about God. You can't trust him. He's not good all the time. He'll lie to you. He doesn't want you to become everything you were intended to be. Second thing she said was, I wasn't afraid to die. I was terrified of seeing the look of disgust on his face when we met. See, in a lot of us, we understand that. Where we think the truth of our being is, we're worthless.
When I choose to run from him into the darkness, he's with me in that moment. And he's not angry, and his facial expression is fixed on mine, and he's loving me. You know, it's one thing to read, I'm loved. It's one thing to read, I'll be with you. But for him to be with me in my addiction, for him to be with me in prison, and in sickness, and in relapse over and over and over again, that's what changes me.
When I embrace how God sees me rather than how I see myself and how other people see me, I think that's where true joy comes in. That weeds out discouragement. That even weeds out us seeking it in other people. Because I think until we tap in to God's opinion, and it's an absolute opinion, it's an opinion that has authority and holds weight in eternity. When we tap into that, we've tapped into what makes us us.
So often we think God is just trying to get us to conform, when really what he's committed to is unbelievable transformation. If we could only enter the depths of his love, we would find our lives deeply changed.
He loves us, oh how he loves us, oh how.
When the prodigal hits the bottom, something can grow. Nothing so dead. God can't grow something living in it.